Honorable members of RDC and staff and everybody on the call, we'll go ahead and get started, and hopefully my colleagues will get on the call. They're on different calls right now, having meetings. So it's now 9:09 a.m. My name is Rick Nez, Chair of RDC. Ms. Begay, could you do the roll call, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. This is a RDC leadership meeting with the Office of the Controller and Division of Economic Development. Roll call for May 25th, 2021. Ricky Nez.
Delegate Rick Nez is on the call.
Thomas Walker Jr. Thomas Walker Jr. Herman M. Daniels. Herman Daniels. Key Allen Begay Jr. Key Allen Begay Jr. Mark Freeland. Mark Freeland. Wilson Stewart Jr.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, you have 2 members present, and the meeting does not require a quorum. However, we just received a text from Herman Daniels as well as Thomas Walker. They'll be joining us shortly as soon as they conclude their meeting. Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you, Ms. Begay, for that. And everybody on this call, I'll go ahead and do the invocation. Net God nehdigen God. Aganaho ara hanlon ahonetsen. Olodo yon eren nehdigen lene. Eche hota inna ben hiketus leo hunzaten hios kartenle. Akwiche inna beten tailti indeta nanishta. Akwichin delnish. Inna betchadet eba ahonetsen. Nasen hera khendle. Ashhoren hitlon hidingen lene. Nakajinapa. Naka ahnsen. Doyonit era. Satane. Bigahit ahrahit zile. Nikejopat and nahalon. Yadel kisse. Endeta shadow yat ehida chudenil insa. And the conquer answer social media, but the nigger, then a cargo net at nether a hotzi. Ashhorn, Nadigan Laney, none hintkin. What's up but the needle? Yat echo, hinate narrow, yat echo, Mahalchan banit, Adonitson. And Nacha. Nahalchen oder Haus Achole, Hot Ala. Da in Nala Hot Ala, da Hoji Yala Danzanda. Ashhore, Nahalchen, Howard Honlado, Yat Echo Tahoyado less. And on the Sidex either less, the Askat or less. Aranil Hojoyat Eho Keki needle less. Sadiat ehgebes yel tjona hinit kengo chana nit lo nasi kan leno let ashon in het honla. Ane ndayelzi ge dahro nasbahasan. Nit anje honle hon hanan ro yat eho chana di taso nasko in nayat eho. Hojogo. Hojon has laid all lesko. Keko. E cut all less. She had the needle arts which in the Hidigan Lane, arts which have been a hoson. Jonago Yadot is ne carte. Treo na edo sonto da nasnesa. And the Costan Dalto, Nihenda the Yaston, Henada has taken Niheda de Shield, Yat Eho Konkan. Chil Hanada Hen set O Canada, the Lieron, Jonago Chil Tajon, the Hanada Hense. Jonago the Halchin. Nal Close and Jonago had an la city that that Jonago the hat Hata. I hear what the Hatchadan Kesko. Nehemaron hijabs out of the Hasit Lin la. Nihet Honla, Ronaskon Hida Chicago. The head need art Scotcha. Onti a Pennevigas and a Clinication. Yet Ehon hit Honla, Horo Navigate Kit or Let Hajo did the Hodon Nathan Lenigi. A head needle let get on Lonniga, which on second job body, and then you get Benasha Jesus Christ. Amen. She Koro introductions and it's Koshin Koro RDC. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, are you on the call? And the K Koro Honorable Stewart, would you please introduce yourself?
Augustine, good morning, Shania. I will be on 2 calls as well, both related to the same item, Shania, with Division of Economic Development. But I am calling from Untitled Chapter, so out of a base master understand so that though quit Sony age though none is a touching a touching the Chanel. And then at 11 o'clock or 10:30, I will ask to be excused if we're not done by then. Koda, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Shay Rickness in Shia Wasanan Snow, Zaytkachi, Nebashis Chain, Sanhabit and Dashi Chedo, Kia Ani, the Sanella, Otayat and then 6 chapters, Vanash, Nishige, Hogback, San Juan, and Nizara, Perfulum, Burnham, and Newcomb. Welcome, everybody. Roche, are any of my colleagues on the call now?
Chairman Freeland's on.
Honorable Freeland.
Good morning.
Introduce yourself.
Chairman, good morning. CJ Mark Freeland is here. I'm going to get touched on you. Snowed up Kia Ani, a Bush's Chin, Sanjay Kennedy. I don't tell you, but good morning from Crown Point, Eastern Navajo Agency. I got 8 chapters out here. Crown Point, Nadiskis, Te I, Vicente, White Rock, Lake Valley, Herfano, and Nayuza. I also represent all the 23 other Eastern chapters in Eastern Navajo as a representative on RDC. Good morning to one and all. Thank you for that prayer, Chairman. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Chairman So.
Yes, good morning, Chair. So, I don't know. So, Ben Hakao, the Bendana, Yat, I with all the water. Never car, Yahashi, the Hajano, and Lego, the Hago, the Jano, what. Said all water. Good morning. My name is Otto. So, I represent the community in Tuba City. I have a basement, so I don't know, Tohiat Leni, Nanish, as a cup on her bush chain. Look at the night as you trade out to not Jenny, the Shandana. And they would out, you get down to little Jesus up in the air. Yeah, and go on mute.
Thank you. RDC staff, Ms. Begay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Yat a Shami Begay Shedo. Not could and shown the position, but she's chain combined a dash chain. Kachini, additional dice and Sunday. G down is not shot. Although today in lay office to sit down at any Josh. Mr. Chair, back to you.
Thank you. Ms. Woody?
Good morning, Chair. Aro RDC members and afternoon hito good morning. Aro hito is good morning. The Schnidole. Trade Kabahan show the passage in the passage chain kia ani dash chirot and agent dash nale. Ne steamboat they go in a shadow today officers that are they in each hashnet. Oh, ado good morning hitini dole, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Woody. Ms. Khan? Ms. Khan? Honorable Kialan Begay? Honorable Begay?
Chairman, good morning. Yeah, we need to list all. Ado, Grostet, Hanra, National King, Annie, that's a Annie, that's a chair, the Chini, that's another. The Central Agency, I represent 5 chapters called Hahan Hitchino. Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning, Stella. Honorable Edmund Yazzie.
Chair and RDC members and everyone that's online. I am on call, okay, just to listen in. This is Edmund Yazzie. I'm calling from Coolidge, from my office here at the House. And so it's good to hear the RDC members and staff online, sir.
Thank you. Speaker's Office, Ms. Yako.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Resources and Development Committee. Yat Ehebene, Shea Melinda Erviso, Siako and Shiedo, Sena Jinin Shlon Kia Ani Bashichin, the Twitchini Dashichedo, Dashini Dashinale, Doyat Ehebene, Legislative Staff Assistant for Speaker Damon here in Winter Rock, Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you. Ache Yaha, Division of Economic Development, Mr. J.T. Willie.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Chair. Aro Arnold Skodiko, the Hinad Anhe Basebas Anigi, She J. Willie and Shia. Dona et Kapaha Ainsland of Kachini, Bashichin, Ashihe Edasichedo Kia Ani National, Aro the Division Director, Economic Development Nanis Kanchadigi. Aro I do have my staff on the line as well. Mr. Tyrone Chi, who's also joining me from our support services with the Division of Economic Development. Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Staff, DED staff, could you introduce yourself?
Morning. This is Nota Silversmith, Shea Nota Silversmith, Yin She, Honagatni, Nashla Kia Ani, Bushes Chin, Italian Dashachet, Otogini Dashanella. I'm the Business Regulatory Manager.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, everyone. This is Douglas Capitan, Senior Project Specialist.
Next. Anybody from the Controller's Office? Mr. Willie? Rob Willie?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. This is Robert Willie from Controller's Office.
Thank you for getting on the call, Mr. Willie. Appreciate your time. And the purpose leadership meeting this morning, and yes, I think Clinicky is a follow-up meeting, is pursuant to directives issued from January 9th RDC meeting. It was a leadership meeting. The follow-up discussion will relative to the Division of Economic Business and Industrial Development Fund accounts outstanding financial report discrepancies, and other related issues. So first, provide the presentation will be Mr. J.T. Willie. Mr. Willie, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity, as well as the update that we will be providing this morning to honorable members of the Resources and Development Committee. It's been a few months now since we've all last had a meeting and updates regards to the BIDF program with the Division of Economic Development. Since our last discussions that we had in January, we have been working on various progress reports regarding the Business Infrastructure Development Fund and working with our internal team as far as establishing a mechanism to maneuver through the current sanction that's in place with the division due to the discrepancies of the BIDF. As we have progressed through the past few months, we've been able to meet internally with some updates, as well as also establish a working group who is pretty much led by Mr. Tyrone Chi with our support services, as well as also other key members such as Mr. Tony Perry, Ms. Elaine Young, our regional business development offices. Pretty much everyone has a part in the management of the BIDF and maneuvering through re-administering the program as we move forward. Through the month of January, February, and March, we did have several updates and met internally. Then thereafter, once the plan started to get devised and we started to recognize what we needed to reach out to various offices to collaborate with them in order to get the program up and administered again. And of course, I am very appreciative to Mr. Robert Willie of the Office of the Controller for joining the call today, as well as also other entities that we've been working with. One is also including Department of Justice. After we started to have traction the last few months on our course of action that we were taking, we needed to get feedback from the Department of Justice in regards to some of the questions that we had in legal matters regarding positions, as well as other needed areas in order to have a feasible plan moving forward. So as we have also reached out to Department of Justice and working with them, we have some documents that are still pending within their office. We also have devised a new positions, which are also currently in a waiting status right now with the Department of Personnel Management. But I would like to turn the time over to Mr. Chi, who has provided the update. I did send that out to Shami Begay. I sent you the outline of what we are presenting today. The first document I do believe Mr. Chi will be going over is it's titled 1 BIDF Report 5/25/2021. So Mr. Chair, if I may, I would like to turn the time over to Mr. Tyrone Chi with our support services.
Good morning.
Morning, Tyrone.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Go right ahead. This is Delegate Freeland. I believe Chairman might have lost signal. I'll go ahead and fill in for him. Aviga, thank you. Go ahead.
Regarding the BIDF.
Mark, this is Shami. Just for your information, I sent out the documents out to all the RDC members for presentation this morning.
Thank you, Ms. Begay. Check your emails and see if we did get the documents and verify that. And then we can go ahead and proceed on with the presentation at hand. Real quickly, do the committee members have the presentation?
I received mine, Kialan.
All right. Thank you, brother. Yes,
good morning.
Anyone else?
I got mine.
All right. Talia, good morning. I got mine too. Any others of our colleagues? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, you're on the line, right, brother? I think I heard you, as well as Honorable Otto So.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm just listening in. Okay. So I'll if it's okay with you all, I'd like to have a copy if it's all right.
All right.
If you guys can shoot me one, I'm okay too. They'll get so.
Ms. Begay, can we shoot one to Honorable Otto So and Honorable Edmund Yazzie?
Shiaj, this is Delegate Crotty, if I may have a copy too. Thank you.
Good morning, Shmoyerje. Thank you for joining us. Shmoyerje, Honorable Member Crotty too, Ms. Begay.
Okay, I'll do that in a few.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Chairman Yazzie is traveling, Chairman Nez is traveling back from Window Rock back towards up north, so he did ask me to step in when he does lose signal. But we'll go ahead and proceed on with the presentation. If we can go ahead and have Division of Economic Development go ahead and proceed on then with the presentation.
Okay, good morning again. This is Tyrone Chi. I'm a delegated department manager for support services. And
Tyrone, can you please up the volume, please, for our recording purposes?
Okay, what about now?
Good. We're good.
Okay. Okay, my name's Tyrone Chi, and in the Ayat, I introduced myself earlier, but I guess I was still muted. And my name's Tyrone, like I said, then Tani Sanin Shido, Twitchin, the Bashin, Kia, Ani, the Shido, my discusion, Eda Chanel, Araki to Tatit Ari, Eda Shako, and Hot Ela Aro in the Aya on the BIDF audit report, the update from the last meeting up to now. Thinking about it and going through it, mostly on a weekly basis. I think to me, I think we're making progress. We have a better understanding of the CAT, and that's up to now. That's to me that's what I think as I work on this audit. So the first one is like you said, we made some accomplishment, and we've created several documents. We've created several documents, and we're waiting on responses. Like the very first one that we have on there is the reestablishment of the chief financial officer, and the usage of a BIDF manager. They're both the same, but we wanted to use the BIDF manager throughout the guidelines to see if it's feasible to do that. So then that's the reason. That's the first request that we made to DOJ, and we have yet to receive a response on it, and I'm sure that they're working on it.
Excuse me, Tyrone, I can barely hear you. You're fading in and out. Is there any way that you could sit closer to your phone?
That's what I'm doing. I think I have a problem with this phone before, so what about now?
That's better, Mr. Chi. Thank you.
Okay. And then the next is the one that we've created the document is that they propose microenterprise loan guidelines. We went ahead and changed it, and the way when we reviewed it, it's when we looked at the BIDF, and it seems like before it's all support services and all the duties are this is what we do, this is what support services does, and to me that it's all support services, so that there is really no progress on the overall audit. So it continues to be like that, but with the micro loan guidelines.
Tyrone,
Yes.
we still can't hear you. Is there another phone that you could use? I'm receiving a lot of text.
Okay, what about now? Hello?
Much better. Yeah, much better.
Jonathan, thank you. Okay, so we're using that as a guide to help us monitor the loans and and updating the guidelines and the language that DOJ is going to recommend, and we're waiting on that. So that way, once that language is updated, and we could apply it to amending the small business loan and the investment. So we need to update. So that's where it's at on that proposed micro enterprise guidelines. It's down at DOJ too, and I'm sure that they're working on it also. And then the next document that's down at DOJ is throughout the guidelines. What it says is that there's supposed to be a record management policy in place. So there is up to now there is no record management policy. So what we did is we went ahead and established that record management policy, and it's in draft form at DOJ for their review also. So those documents are kind of like it's going to guide us to once we get DOJ reviews them and send them back, then I'm sure we're gonna start progressing more on it. So then the other document is that the PCQ to reestablish the chief financial officer, which is down at the BPM. And once we get the word that it's reclassified, then we have to put it back into the FY22 budget. And the only problem that's hindering is the funding for the CFO. And then the fifth one is a proposed memorandum of agreement between our office and the controller's office. We sent it down also. We haven't received any feedback also, and that pertains to the auditor. What the auditor said was that we weren't contacting the controller's office when BIDF transactions are taking place. So before we tried to do verbal meetings, we tried to set up meetings verbally, but they're not working out. So now even like if we have an outstanding business unit and we request OMB to close that business unit out, and we need help right there, or if there's an annual auditor's adjustments that were made, and all we see is an adjustment that is made, but we actually don't see the actual adjustment where adjustments were made. All we see is one lump sum. So some of those things that OOC can
can assist us. Just like now, I'm working on the fixed assets, and I need to work with OOC to balance it. So, do we continue with our records here at DED on the fixed asset, or do we balance with the FMIS? And so those are some of the adjustments that we want to make, and that's for that reason we established that MOA, and then we have a budget revision. We identify funds to purchase a loan ledger, just like the loan ledger that we're on now. It's no longer in business now, so we can't use that loan ledger. We have to go through a different model. So we identify funds on there. We're going to start inputting, updating all our information. A lot of the auditors' findings will take care of that. So those are we're waiting on responses. And then the shortfall, like we said, is response time from the reviewing offices and the purchase of the software. And then ongoing, and where we'll continue to work as I went through this my report, that the ongoing then is to continue to update the BIDF, DD financials, and then to purchase the loan ledger, and then continue to establish the training materials that we will be doing virtually. So that's what we're working on now. And then the things to do is up to now is preparing for this meeting, and then like finalizing the fixed asset and prepare periodic updates to mostly that's what I do. Will provide updates to Mr. JT Willie up here. So, and then a reminder to the managers to start identifying the performance measures and factors for the FY 2022 budget, and that's the my overall report on the audit up to this time. And I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Mr. Willie here.
Thank you, Mr. Chi. Mr. Willie?
Oh, Shahat. So as we have gone through the outline that's been provided in the summary, Mr. Chi has been tasked with the overall review and the progress that has been taking place these past couple of months. As we move forward, we are looking to accomplish many of the areas that are pending, and as in the pending section, that is key and instrumental for us to start maneuvering through the review process. And I understand that Acting Auditor General, Ms. Helen Brown, has reached out to us for an update in regards to the BIDF, which is due this coming Friday, and we will be providing some feedback as to what the progress has taken place to this point. And so as we move forward within the next couple of months, it will involve us to start working with leadership in regards to some of the requirements that is going to be needed now at this point. And at this point, we've made pretty much a good progress in order for us to be waiting for positions to get classified and declared. The Chief Financial Officer is the next vital position in order for us to meet some of the requirements of the corrective action plan that has been outlined for the Division of Economic Development. Thereafter, once we get the individual in place and start our program in the administration mode, we'll be able to start having it come back for reassessment and reevaluation from our Auditor General. And as we progress again through the next couple of months, we will be entering budget season. As we enter budget season, there will be some requests for salaries for the chief financial officer. There will be a need for the purchase of software for the one of the areas of concerns that was brought up regarding record management. And so in order to establish a comprehensive record management system, we're going to have a software needed in order to maintain those data between our offices here at the main offices with our regional offices and working with them on various efforts when it comes to the BIDF program. And again, as we move forward, it's also going to be needing for us to start the discussions. And I did provide this update to honorable members of RDC when we did our quarterly update a couple months ago. And that also involved the need for the economists. And of course, the economist is not related to the BIDF program. However, if you have that team established in place, the evaluation of some of these proposals coming to our offices through the BIDF or any other sort of initiatives will add to the overall review of how to administer this program moving forward. So as we are still pendently waiting for the economist position to get classified as well, at DPM, we'll be able to have all of them working together. And the other part is that we wanting to establish these positions in order for them to be marketable as well as retainable. And in order to meet those needs, the salary for these positions have to be at a level to attract applicants to come in for the position. There's currently a salary appeal in place that's been submitted to DPM in regards to the economists. In regards to the chief financial officer, that one is still pending. I don't have the current salary on me, but the salary for the CFO may also need some assessment in regards to making this position attractable to applicants to apply and to assist us in this process. Of course, we do have team members within the division who have been very instrumental in assisting with the program, but when you have those dedicated individuals in place, it will add to us moving this program forward. I am understandable and respectable to where this has situated from, dating back to 2009. And at this point now, as we start to really innovate and also upgrade much of the internal processes for how the division functions, that also includes the BIDF program. So I give a lot of credit to Mr. Chi and to the team for getting us to this point now, these past few months. It's been great to get back on track with many of our initiatives moving forward. Now with the American Rescue Plan funds coming down, we've been pretty much setting our schedule to meet with various chapters. I do apologize. We already had a meeting scheduled this morning as well. So we're also on the other line with some of our respective chapters with Honorable Stewart, and we also have some meetings scheduled throughout the day as well. So, Honorable Chair, thank you very much in allowing us to provide this update this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Willie. And we can go to the Office of the Controller, Mr. Robert Willie, and then we can ask questions. So, Mr. Willie, you have the floor, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Members of the Resource and Development Committee. Robert Willie, for the record, Accounting Manager, Office of the Controller. I did speak with Tyrone, Mr. Chi from Economic Development on some of the issues that he's requesting on this MOU. Some of the reports we can generate. He wants to be able to reconcile from FMIS to the records they have up there, which is great. I know that the single audit programs reconcile their fixed assets to what's actually purchased. So it would be a good record keeping of what kind of documents or what kind of equipment or such that you're purchasing, and then reconciling it to what's actually recorded in the FMIS. And that's great. Reconciling the accounts also is another key to maintaining the records of the BIDF. I know in the past that there was discrepancies and there was problems that they had with our records. And I think in the past, the auditors actually reconciled portions of that. But I'd be happy to assist them in reconciling and showing them how we do it on this side also. Mr. Chi did bring up closing out the business units. There's no actual process for that currently that's documented. I know that there are a number of other programs which want to close business units. Say a project is completed and you want to actually close out the balance. There's no formal process for that currently. So if we could come up with something, and OMB would be instrumental in getting that also looked at too for approval for across the boards, so that process could be documented. So it's exciting that economic development wants to work on these issues. It would be great for them going forward. And it sounds like JT is heading up this in a good direction. So that's all I have to add, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Willie. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any questions, comments? We also have our Honorable Vice Chair Walker on the line. Could you introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Although committee members and our legislative staff, although the presenters this morning, though the listening audience, I represent Kalani Lake Loop, Birch Springs, Cameron, and coal mine chapters out here in Western Navajo Agency. I don't Shinigi Shinhensha be Petoni. I just chained or twits of me shade at that excuse me, Dashinal. I could echo how do I the vice chairman for the Resource and Development Committee. Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. We also have on the call with us this morning, Honorable Amber Kenneth Crowdy. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah, Chairman Nev. Kia ani nisla do bilagada basis chin. That's chini that's a che do bilagada dashanale Toy that I represent Northern Agency on the Budget and Finance Committee. And my district is Sheep Springs, Two Gray Hills, Tolina, Sanosti, Red Valley, Cove, Gadiai, Buklabato. Thank you, Chairman. Be safe on the road.
Thank you. Shananta, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. J.T. Willie, Mr. Tyrone Chia, and Mr. Robert Willie?
Chairman.
Go ahead.
Chairman, Delegate Freeland. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chair.
Go ahead, Honorable Freeland.
Thank you, Chairman. Nana, RDC members, and my colleagues. Mr. Willie, Mr. Chi, and Mr. Willie, thank you for that presentation. I really am hopeful, and I'm really enthusiastic about progress being made for this opportunity related to the BIDF. And I know in the past there was some issues, yes, and challenges, but moving forward, it's every day we wake up, it's a brand new day for us, and a brand new day and opportunity that we can capture for our people. If we can make sure that we do this right and do this correctly this time, that way in the future we don't find ourselves in these types of scenarios or these types of situations. I can't speak for none of us can speak for the past, but we can speak for now, and I know we can prepare for the future. And I really want to encourage the Division of Economic Development, Mr. Willie, and your team, and I'm thankful for this discussion. I'm looking forward to the future and the prosperity and growth of our Navajo economy. And anytime we can bring businesses to entrepreneurs that have a business plan, marketing plan, but more importantly, can bring capital, that's an opportunity that we can definitely encourage, and of course support. With the help of this BIDF and re-enhancing it and bringing it back onto the table, just think of how many more opportunities we can create for our entrepreneurs. I want to give a shout out to each and RDBO. I want to thank Ms. Jesus and her team over there. She did have a call with my 8 chapters on Friday, and I'm very appreciative for the discussion that we had, and she really brought in the discussion related to the 5-year plan. She also mentioned working with Club C's and the administration as well as the officials, and cohesively that's how chapters are supposed to really operate. The Club C's, the officials, and administration all working in unison. And I'm glad that we're able to start talking about the 5-year plans that chapters have through their Club C's. What is the 5-year plan for each of our chapters? And I appreciate that discussion we had. So I want to give each and RDBO a real big shout out. So thankful to Ms. Jesus and her team over there. But Mr. Willie, thank you very much. Mr. Chi, I wish you all the very best. You have my continued support. You have our continued support. I really want to see the division thrive, prosper, grow, succeed. We need new revenue sources. We need new ways of figuring this out together. So please, if you need any help, if you need any assistance, reach out to any of us, and we'll be glad to help you in any way that we can. I guess that leads me to my last point is, of course, related to the NNBOA. I did hear on the radio that you guys are having the work sessions, the opportunities for the public to give their points back. So I'm looking forward to that discussion, and how can we give NNBOA, some teeth, or how can we put, like the scenario I used is, how can we put more meat in the potatoes? We've got to strengthen that law somehow. We've got to give it. It seems like too many of our priority ones are falling through the cracks, and how can we, as a nation, as lawmakers, as executive branch, legislative, or judicial, how can we stop those priority ones from falling through the cracks, and businesses or departments or divisions going to priority 2s directly, or even those that are not even listed? And I think we got to stop together. But I'm here to support you all. I just want to say good morning, Nana, and I'm very thankful for this discussion. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Freeland. Let me go back to Mr. J.T. Willie.
Okay, Mr. Chair, Honorable Freeland, very much for your comments and your feedback to us. Much of the progress that has taken place through these past months has been a collaborative effort with the team. And as we move forward, how you can help us, most definitely, we want to be able to get back with RDC in regards to, I would think, around budget season, once the budget hearings do start, because we need to start getting funds put in place for these positions. Once we do hear back from DPM, DOJ on some of the pending materials in place, we'll be able to provide where we have met some of those areas. In regards to the corrective action plan implementation, in regards to all of the findings, there are some areas that are pending due to the need of the guidance from the financial expert. And of course, my limitations are geared towards regional planning and development, and much of the team here has worked in the various fields to provide support, technical, but we're going to need that overall comprehensive technical support with a chief financial officer in place. So once we meet that succession, that will give us the areas for evaluation that are needed in order for the Madam Auditor General to review and to provide us feedback on what additional corrective actions need to take place, if there's any. And of course, if we have met some of those successes, moving the BIDF forward. In regards to the NBOA, we have been looking at all areas of concerns from leadership. And of course, Honorable Freeland, you've always brought up the issues of the MBOA and Priority 1, Priority 2 status vendors of the Navajo Nation. We have seen much of that in regards to the CARES funds that were administered last fall, and how majority of those funds were not easily used up or directed towards our preference Navajo business owners. And so the new supervisor in place, Mr. Nota Silversmith, has been very instrumental in working with my office in regards to reviewing the MBOA. And that has been a concern not only from leadership, but of course myself, on how we can streamline and also innovate this law in order for it to be successful for our business owners. So Thursday, this coming Thursday, will be this first listening session and feedback session that's going to be conducted by Mr. Silversmith and his department. At the conclusion of today's meeting, I would like to give time to Mr. Silversmith to provide feedback of where that's coming from, but I just wanted to briefly highlight that, Delegate. Honorable Freeland, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Silversmith?
Yate, members of the chair, committee, honorable delegates attending. My name is Nota Silversmith. I've been with the nation since 2009. So Thursday, we're having our first meeting, May 27th from 1 to 4. It'll be in a virtual setting via Zoom. The link will be on navajoeconomy.org. It's posted towards the bottom of the web page, and you just click on that and you'll have access to the Zoom session. The priority for these hearings is to make it work for Priority 1 and Priority 2 vendors to have an open mind and receive recommendations from the public, honorable delegates, anybody who has input on the MBOA and how we can make it more friendly for business development, specifically Native American Navajo business development on the Navajo Nation. So that's the intent of these hearings, and we're going to have a series of 3 of them. The first one is May 27th, as mentioned. June 24th is the second one, and hold on one second. And then July, I believe it's 29th. Yeah, July 29th is the third one. And we are mentioning them on the radio and in the Navajo Times. I'm very pleased to hear that Mr. Freeland heard an ad. And so I'm hoping that we get a good response with this and we are productive with it and we make some changes that are in a positive manner, and hope it meets all of you all's expectations. And that's really all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silversmith. Honorable Kealan McGay.
Chairman.
McGay.
Yes, Chairman Yate, Ado RDC member. Ado have other colleagues on the call. Good morning, honest staff. Ado Kudo Division Director for the Division of Economic Development on staff. How do we incorporate and are we prepared? We're talking more of the future. What could be done to effectively run the operations of this particular office? That nes de no by yet. Halit ala a at compass was and let hodo nita beta had on nishikila hit out a codo batch a hotet aquake. So hit an end delegation or youth on me. Be pohonets on it I codo yard denegi that she does codo non denegila hedios wash. Now, certified chapters Halit out codo bukan nature to regional division or RBDO Chinson RBDO. Some of us represent chapters. I think majority of majority of our chapters are rural in a way, because Anish brother mentioned the club members that other local chapter officials that I mean, it just comes to a dead end to, okay, now we got the plan in place, and how do we even start anything without no resource, without no funding? I've been saying this all along. Let me pitch for one of my chapter, mini farms. You know, I always say that that's a crossroad people going to Canyon de Shade to Monument Valley, if not from Canyon de Shade to Four Corners area. It's not always teen. And on a daily basis, you could see all these individual vehicles coming through. Chapters on Liniki, although that this is an industrial program with a loan process, but overall, at summer, COVID-19 at national to ben nashikoshi the neto blagana dan Liniki dan shito you kodo at na anana tindolle. Halit all that all the Coco in many farms there's about 6 plot business site. They're idle on this Coco Ela. I mean, can I compete with the Chinle office development? I mean, I think that's where we could go and I could go, but there's little help. To tell you the truth, from my end, especially from the RBDO, Ayido Kumba office go Ayido Kodo and mini firms, Koagi has argued, Hayudo, not because if we're talking about economic development, Nigo go Halit Ala Eto develop at the Hajnata. Ado hit Ala Eto Sato Aka Ayeda La Onsen She Ot Ego Shesindo A. So, Mr. Willie Do, Economic Development Division staff, could I verbally request that we have a meeting with the Mini Farms chapter or this region? The 5-year plan based upon Nana for the central agency, almost in the amount of 6 to 7 million. What that ego zero fantastic halit elan son yeah. How do we incorporate this particular sector of your program into the overall Navajo Nation development across the Navajo Nation? Since I represent the Chinle agency, the most that we have is the Chinle region, which is, I guess it's okay for development and so on, but nonetheless, you know that as a certified chapter, a lot of these down the road, there's always a talk about chapters retaining what they've sales tax that and that's what I'm afraid of down the road. So a lot of these small chapters will be left out should several council from now and they had the chapters they'll be left out of not getting any funding or sales tax they're being distributed amongst the agency hotel occupancy in that use it based on Liniki or beta in niche development do hotel be de nistol de sanki kwa ki yard de kit o not opeta inish aje akoko ahodat ego hadet elan sinie. I mean, I think we need to go back down to the chapter level. A lot of times we have written visions about how we could compete with the New York City. I'm sure we could with the amount of visitors that we get, but it's just a matter that he's not that dita. I've spent 2 days wiping down my shelves to get the dust out. Ko ot ego o dita kaya that hate onosnel dikat farming that no. And then on the other hand, Chairman, I apologize for taking up too much time, but if we're talking about economic development, the infrastructure that everything is virtual, everything is telecommunication, everything is it's just a matter of swiping a card, but yet we have problem with telecommunication. We have problem not having enough infrastructure in that fashion. So that ego could the machine has the being hit and has got out as a so that's shown and I do appreciate quite RBDO Chinli let it up continent or habitan need to get here, but it it's other down my chapters nobody called in again. I'm right in front of the mini farms chapter. We're meeting with the Apache County on to talk about roads. So, Chairman, so that's my thought. But I appreciate the progress. Appreciate the report, and we thank you, everyone, staff,
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Mr. J.T. Willie.
Mr. Chair, Otto Shanai, Honorable Key Allen Begay, in regards to your feedback and comments. The BIDF program is a very diversified institutional financial resource that the Division of Economic Development looks to succeed and also progress in regards to financial support. Of course, with that financial support comes areas of educational need, being financially responsible, feasible, investment, and what have you. The program is designed to handle high capacity that we know, such as investments. Investments take place in bigger loans, traditionally have been done through the enterprises of the Navajo Nation, such include Navajo Arts and Craft Enterprise, Navajo Nation Shopping Centers Incorporated, the Net Development Corporation. Some repayments, or also, as you can consider them, dividends, happen yearly to the nation in regards to the monies that were invested into different projects that these companies, enterprises were looking to succeed. There are other areas that have happened with direct support to various companies outside of enterprises. Now that we are moving forward, it's in our best intention that those investments are done diligently in regards to the financial process and support needed to give some of these investments to many of our small businesses. In regards to the small business microloans, small business loans, those have been, again, through the past of the program, have been administered through the Regional Business Development Office, or otherly known as the RBDO, in conjunction in regards to the overall responsibility of the BIDF program. So I appreciate the concerns that were brought up. I understand where we are coming from as far as regards to the continuation of financial support to businesses here on Navajo. It's been about 3 years now into my appointment, and I've been part of various different topics and conversations regards to financially supporting projects. Many of our entrepreneurs have faced a dead end, if you say, in regards to receiving financial capacities and investments in their projects from outside entities, just because the hindrance of any financial institution comes with the ownership of land, comes with the waiver of sovereign immunity, comes with all sorts of other areas that have not allowed some of our projects to move forward independently on the entrepreneur side. The nation comes in many times to offer its support. I have supported various projects throughout the nation with allocations of our sales tax funds, allocations of additional financial support through 5-year planning. So as we move forward, as we innovate this program, I see the concern regards to the longevity and the financial backings of this program. We don't want to see it dissolve one day. We don't want to see the program not move forward at some point. It's looking at all formulas possible on how to recuperate funds, whether it's done through yearly dividends back to the nation, whether it's done through tax responsibilities. Through the CARES funds, we have learned this very much with our small business community and the private sector. And of course, as we look to the American Rescue Plan, it's how do we reinvest some of these funds back to small businesses, but look to them to also reinvest back into the nation as a whole, whether it's through tax, whether it's through yearly dividends, whether it's through this program. As we start looking forward, and as I have mentioned, we've been meeting with various chapters since our presentation to honorable members of the Navajo Committee back in March. We were tasked with developing a plan. The preliminary plan was developed. From there, we were charged with much feedback from leadership that we were very appreciative to. The American Rescue Plan team has been meeting with various chapters. And going back to May 13, we did meet with Shema, chapter president of Mini Farms, Ms. Catherine Arthur, in regards to the plots there. And we do have some follow-up meetings set up in regards to support for the overall project that they have completed feasibility study for Mini Farms. So as we move forward, those are the things that need financial support. And with the current sanction that's been put in place on the BIDF, with the lack of administrative staff at the higher level, with the CFO to start moving this program forward, those are on the list. Those are some things that we want to look to provide financial support, even if it's through the American Rescue Plan as well. Of course, it's with all due respect to the guidance as well as the limitations that we are looking to in regards to how we can support some of these projects. In regards to the BIDF as well, there is a program. There's a new program. Well, it's not new. It's new to the Navajo Nation and other tribal nations. It's called the Small State Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI for short. And this program was only offered to state governments to administer to small businesses. Under the Obama administration, it was created. And now, as current date, through the current Congress and President Biden, Vice President Harris, there was an amendment that happened to the language of the SSBCI in order for it to be available to tribal nations. The Division of Economic Development under my office is currently working with DOJ to finalize our intent to participate. And this SSBCI program houses and administers funds to a developed financial institution within its government to administer to small business support. The BIDF is an example of that the nation created. The SSBCI is an example of that coming from the federal and state level. If we do cross the line to be recognized as an entity to support through the SSBCI, the Division of Economic Development will also have another financial resource for small business support in regards to similar of what our Navajo CDFI administers, as well as what the BIDF has traditionally done in the past. As we look to this current year, and if we get individuals in place in order for us to see the success of the BIDF program, we'll be able to have a bigger capacity to support some of our initiatives, especially to those at the rural level that need financial support for development of projects. Our Small Business Development Department, under Ms. Elaine Young and her team, have been diligent in putting together comprehensive plans for development of projects at the local level. and Mr. Tony Perry and Project Development have been working on much of the higher capacity projects. So when it comes to the BIDF, they both have been worked hand in hand in regards to administering of the loan programs, whether they're investments at the higher capacity for project development, or whether they're micro and at the small level for small micro loans at the RBDO level. And as we look to the success of implementing the program, once again, it will allow all areas of opportunity, no matter the level of capacity of some of these projects that are looking to get built out throughout Navajo. If we had the BIDF program readily available and to administer funds in a respectable, ethical manner, we would see such projects as the Crown Point Hotel project being built as of to date. Since that fund resource wasn't there, we really didn't have that available to us. So therefore, we looked at some internal fundings that the division oversees, such as sales tax funds. Ms. Charlene Begay-Platero, Ms. Weva White have worked on various projects within our project development to build out some of these past projects that have been done. And they've used the BIDF to assist them in financial support. And of course, their investors, the investment was repaid back into the program through the loans that were set out for some of these projects in the past. So as we look to expanding the financial capacities, we look to see the BIDF administered as well as being a financial institution for the SSBCI. And of course, once we cross those lines, it will require us to put a different area of opportunity office available for such resources. That's where the CFO comes into place. Something outside of what I would consider politically appointed positions such as mine. So therefore, I don't oversee such financial resources. That was one of the concerns that came up in the past regards to the audit findings. So we're looking to do this for the longevity of continued support outside of any administration, outside of any continuation of elected officers and officials. And with all due respect to everyone coming into these positions, there is a need for local development. There is a need for continuing to support projects in each of your communities, and these are some of the financial supports in order to make those feasible. So as we continue to move forward, I look to see much progress happening in this year as we start to move forward and as we see our pending opportunities before us here. Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Mr. Woolley. Honorable Chairman Oroso.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Business development, business infrastructure development from Bahanegi. The 2009 behind sleep Nahotis Nido budget. Halane Natla Adonan Shiki Ket Ahake Behata Yadli Deneb Betako Dahus Ago. Although the other is that although the audit is you're trying to, the program is moving forward to comply with the audit, the findings. Is there time to start tweaking and to try to better the business infrastructure development fund to meet today's needs, business needs? And definitely when BIDF when it was created, we had I say it's a whole different type of business people. A lot of our business people are tech savvy, and how do we accommodate that to adjust to modernize this BIDF fund, business development fund? I don't well issue from the controller office. So how much has it generated? So
thank you, Chairman. So, Mr. Willie.
Oh, Honorable Chair, Honorable So, as we look at the BIDF program from 2009. The financial resource assisted the creation of the Navajo Nation shopping center locations throughout the Navajo Nation. It provided an area of buying goods and services through various markets located within the Navajo Nation shopping centers. Many of us are consumers of those locations throughout Navajo Nation. There's locations in Tuba City, Kayenta, Pinyon, Winter Rock, Crown Point, Shiprock, Delcon, Pine Hill. And so as we look to what this program has brought back to the people, as well as also what it has provided, that's one example. And of course, going back to the creation of the investments into some of these enterprises, such as Navajo Arts and Crafts, such as the Net Development Corporation. For example, there are dividends that are paid back to the nation in regards to those investments that were made. Also the other part too is the audit findings, complying with audit findings that were put in place. In the creation of this program, it was developed to support the Navajo entrepreneur, the small business, the businesses here on Navajo to find a financial resource. The unfortunate side to this situation is that the program did not really have a risk assessment put in place. So the risk assessment, if there were not responsible investments or responsible loans developed, the risk assessment was pretty high for individuals that were not qualified for such resources outside of the reservation through a normal financial institution such as Wells Fargo or other banks through those decades. And so this was kind of like the last resource. And so unfortunately, it was built for failure, and that's what had happened. And that's why the audit was brought up, and there was concerns of faulty investments, faulty loans that were given out throughout the past few years. And so since the sanction was put in place back in 2009, and where we're at today, it's been on hold. And this is something as we look to progress it and adjust it, tweak it, and make it more credit worthy of the financial institutions that look to provide support. And that was also for us and how we make those diligent assessments on how we provide support to some of these proposals that will be coming in regards to loans, investments, small business, microloans, what have you. And that's where some of these corrective actions come in place with the establishment of a MOU, not economic development, but also with the Controller's Office, OOC, on housing some of these records, on housing some of these overviews. There is also, I know there have been some discussions in regards to establishment of a committee that used to be in place. So there's all sorts of opportunity to ensure that we meet the audit, but as well at the same time, we have it in place to see its protection in order to, again, the end user is the one paying for it. The end user is the entrepreneur, the small business owner, who have been doing everything right, who are ready to open their business, but they do face barriers on their side too, because outside financial institutions kind of hinder when it looks to providing financial resources to some of those individuals here on the Navajo Nation due to land status, due to jurisdictional issues with sovereign immunity. So as we start putting the program in place, there will be assessments and overviews when it comes to tweaking this program. It may involve making some more changes that we didn't identify through the corrective action plan. And that's where I look to the leadership here with Mr. Chi, as well as the team, to make those adjustments as we start moving forward from where we are at now. So, Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Mr. Willie. Honorable members of RDC and other colleagues, do you have any comments or questions for Mr. Willie? Native Tradition and Atenya Akushila. Earlier, I believe it was stated by Mr. Tyrone Chi. He was talking about an amendment. Mr. Chi, could you reiterate that statement?
Okay, on the amendment to as of now, we're amending the micro enterprise loan program guidelines. That's what we're amending now. It's down at DOJ, and what the reason why we haven't hasn't gone through the 164 process is we want to put the languages what DOJ recommends, the type of language that will be used. So once this document comes back out of DOJ, we're going to use that same language to amend the small business and also the investment portion of the guidelines.
Thank you, Mr. Chi, for that clarification. And also, Mr. J.T. Willie, you had mentioned the position of the economist. Could you kind of go into a short detail of what that would entail as far as their duties and responsibilities?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, for the question. The Division of Economic Development has needing various positions in order to provide a higher technical level of assessments and reviews. The concerns that I had coming in do involve such things as the lack of support when it comes to a chief financial officer to provide financial history. Again, my position does cover those areas as well, but you need those permanent positions in order to assist such programs such as this. The economists, it has always been an area of need under the Navajo Nation, even prior to myself coming into this position. And being part of the business world and the business sector, you kind of see a lot of feedback on what the local economy is like. I always get asked the question from honorable members as well as other individuals who ask, where are we at in the status of the economy of the Navajo Nation, and what is needed? What are we lacking? What's the job? Where are we at with the lack of jobs, with unemployment? Where are we at with the value of many of these enterprises on Navajo? Where are we at with providing additional feedback to do assessments on projects? Now, coming into office, that was one of the intentions, was to have such a position put in place. And so an economist is able to provide that oversight and guidance in a permanent position, again, to be able to weigh out some of these projects, not only related to the BIDF, not only related to the Division of Economic Development, but as a resource for the entire Navajo Nation to do assessments on what the economy is like here on Navajo, and what is the evaluation of some of these projects. Because what I see at the federal level, what I've seen outside of the jurisdiction of the Navajo Nation at the county level, within cities, you have an economist report always attached to much of the dialogue that takes place at the legislator level. And I understand honorable members lack that resource, and you need that resource to give you guidance at any capacity possible, whether it's evaluating the market within a region, the market within the nation as a whole, and where can we look to see some of these areas of opportunity, and are they feasible enough for the investments of the nation's financial resources? And also in that, speaking to employment, the correct evaluation of employment here on Navajo. You know, I always reflect back to our Form 2, we always speak to the number of jobs created within a certain period. But I always have to ask the question, like, where are those jobs, and how can we truly identify where are we at with unemployment, where are we at with opportunity for jobs. And the evaluation of our private sector is some area that we also have kind of put on the wayside. So having that dedicated individual in place to be able to provide that guidance for us from the inception of some of these projects to investments, and most importantly, the return on investment coming back to the nation, whether it's done through the evaluation of our tax system. You know, that position can also assist with how do we project the tax revenues of the nation, how we reach the capacities of our taxing. Is there some other areas are we missing in order to meet those needs? Many of our local chapters as well have also taken it under their initiatives to create local taxing. And so in order to get to that point of being able to support yourselves as chapters at the local level, you know, that economist and the team that will be put in place from that will be able to provide that resource. And of course, as an internal position, will be able to assist and carry out its responsibilities to not only within that one position, but also provide guidance, training, and as well as mentorship programs with the employees within the division to have that insight of what it is to evaluate some of these projects, as well as to see the feasibility for them as we look to the future. And as I know, we speak to the lack of financial resources coming to the Navajo Nation. Where can we put all of our barriers in place in order to prevent some mismanagement of funds, some mismanagement of resources to be invested in some things that may not be feasible enough for us? And so I get asked that question a lot from leaders. And so doing my basic evaluation, I'm able to put together some reports, but having that person in place and having that position in place to add that additional aspect from an economist point of view brings in all areas of opportunity and all areas of evaluation when it comes to the Navajo Nation's economy. So I'm looking to that position to also weigh in on its evaluation for the BIDF program as well. Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Willie. Otto, also, as well as Mr. Willie and Mr. Rob Willie, all those on the line. What we need to do also is have another leadership meeting and really discuss the microloan program amendments, the position of the economists as well. Perhaps the economists also invite budget and finance and have DOJ as well as Department of Personnel Management in on the discussion. That way, a lot of these discussions can be fixed right before the fiscal year ends. So all these will be in place with certain proposals for funding, like an economist on el peso the chancelado le. Ahora, and really start talking about these issues, Mr. Willie. I believe that we probably need to have another leadership meeting and another follow-up on this meeting today. So, Mr. Willie, I'll be with you.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Rob Willie, are you good with that? We'll probably just contact him. So, any other comments or questions? I know there's another get-to-work session going on a lot of these water projects as well. So I think everybody kind of switched over to or are on 2 meetings now. Any other comments or questions? So that would be our recommendation, is to have a follow-up meeting and really start preparing for the budget hearings. If there's no further questions, we'll go ahead and adjourn at this time. It is now 10:37. Thank you very much, Mr. Willie and your staff, Mr. Rob Willie, Aro, I believe that'll be it. So thank you.
Oh, and Tago, I can't have Mr. Chair.
Thank you. You all be safe and take care of yourself. God bless you all.